Welcome to the zoning board meeting of October 22nd, 2019. My name is Marty Akins. I'm the chairman. To my left, the vice chair, Mr. Cabeas. Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Chin, Mr. Adel, Mr. Himmel, Mr. Franco, board members. Mr. Duker somewhere. He's in back. Commissioner Duke is here. And our clerk, Miss Murphy. If you have a cell phone or a pager, could you please put on a vibrator silent, or shut them off? No talking in the meetings, since we don't have a microphone system. If you keep it down. If you want to talk, please step outside. If anyone's going to speak tonight, or you think you might speak, please take an oath.
Anyone who's going to testify? Anyone who's going to come up here? Anyone who might come up here?
Anyone that thinks they might have something to say tonight, please raise your hand, stand up. Don't hurt.
So you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Now we-
Maybe seated.
Now a motion to waive the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes of October.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. We have a few things here we have to move first before we get to our first case. 7 Faxon Road. I have a letter here, they want to move it to December 3rd. That'll be the last time.
Mr. Chairman, matter number Z19-61, Facton Park Road LLC for a variance to construct 2 three-story, 3-unit residences in a vacant lot on premises number 7, Facton Park Road. I make a motion to continue the hearing to December 3rd.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Now, I just got a letter to move 12 Miller Street, and he wanted to see if we could get on next month. We've already put that off 3 times. I'm gonna put her off till January. Give her plenty of time, it'll be a lot of time. If we don't come next time, we just go without it, or deny it. Case number Z1946, 12 Miller Street, January 14th.
January 14th. Chairman, matter number Z19-46, like to grant for a special permit variance to raise the existing structure and construct 5 new townhouse units on the premises number 12 Mill Street. Make a motion to continue the hearing to January 4th.
Second.
On the motion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Right now, I'd like to turn, if any of them from Miller Street, that's gonna be January 14th, you're here tonight. Faxon, December 3rd, this year. And right now, I'm gonna turn the meeting over to the vice chairman, because I wasn't at that vote.
Z19-6. I think we have, this is a remand from the local Superior Court. Habit Opco LLC for a special permit requiring to operate a medical clinic and alter pre-existing non-conforming parking to accommodate new configuration of uses in existing building on the premises number 39 Broad Street. Mr. Solicitor, sir, good to see you.
Good evening, members of the board. It's nice to be back here again this evening, and serendipitously, this will be brief. Just by way of background review, you'll recall that I was here at the first meeting of the month for review of a court decision where this board's denial of relief to Habit Opco to expand a non-conforming use or change a non-conforming use, 39 Broad Street, had been denied by the board, appealed to Norfolk Superior Court, and the court overturned the denial, not finding anything amiss with the board's actions, but finding that your reliance on the traffic conditions at Southern Artery and Broad Street and the general difficult traffic conditions was not an adequate basis to deny the relief requested. The court affirmed that your concerns were legitimate, but felt that the fact is the existing chaos, as you had called it, is not going to be made worse by the operation that Habit Opco proposed. Habit Opco made a far more extensive presentation at trial, I would point out, than they did here, which isn't a criticism of their approach. It's more what typically happens in these matters, where the local board presentation is a little more abbreviated. So with that in mind, the judge remanded the matter back to this board to put reasonable conditions on the use and what Habit Opco does at the site. Well, I reviewed first with Jay Duca concerns he had about the building and the site plan, and we really didn't have any in regard to that. The company is proposing to come in and make existing alterations entirely within the building. To the extent there's going to be a modification of the site, I have that modification drafted up after having met. I indicated at the first meeting that I would meet with counsel, Attorney Carolyn Murray, who's here again tonight, with representatives of Habit Opco, and in addition, Attorney Justin Dorada, who represents the Iorio family, and through one of their title holding entities, they hold title to 39 Broad. I met with Attorney Dorada, Attorney Murray. We thoroughly reviewed the site plan, and essentially what I did, we would have provided copies to you, but the reason I'm not is just to tell you this: I'm asking the board to entrust to me the I guess the obligation or duty of getting this site plan, which shows 40 marked parking spaces. There are spaces that are going to be moved in front of the building to allow for clients to park and go directly in, and there's a number of additional spaces along this side of the building where the current parking now exists. That those will all be marked out in the parking lot. And what I propose to do is, Attorney Murray and I are going to submit something to the court. This is the memorandum in order that was entered in Norfolk Superior Court. We will submit a brief amendment to this, indicating that if the board so agrees, and I will wrap up with a recommendation, that the board reviewed the matter and trusted the council the obligation to meet. That meeting occurred, and upon a presentation of the board, appropriate off-street parking as depicted on this, what would be an Exhibit A, is all the board is requiring as far as mitigation. If we do that and we submit it to the court, it will then be subsumed within an amended judgment and the matter will be closed. Now, that would be my recommended course. I think it's the most direct approach. And in addition, over the course of these proceedings, I think you were made aware at some point of the intention for a new public safety complex on the, what is it, the northwesterly side of Broad. Well, what meetings with Mayor Koch, what ensued after the fact as a result of some of what went on with this case and other considerations is the mayor has determined that he wants the city to hold title to this parcel, either by agreement with the current owner of 39 Broad or through eminent domain. And we've talked about that with Mr. Parada, who is counsel to the property owner. Attorney Murray is counsel to Habit Opco. In looking at it, you can see Field Street here at the back end of the building. Well, logistically, we're hoping to create a traffic flow situation where cars that are leaving this area can go down Field Street and use the existing red light infrastructure. We think it'll bring some relief at the end of Broad. But in addition, there are some plans for the site, the area around the building, that will enhance the ability to properly develop the other side of Broad Street. So the mayor had a more global picture. It's been shared with the property owner. So for that reason, I think that the duty of the board to consider and perhaps order further mitigation is probably not necessary at this time, because there are further plans that the mayor intends to undertake pretty much, I won't say forthwith, but with reasonable dispatch. So I think the concerns of the board, as reflected in your original decision, are going to be appropriately addressed through this off-street parking measure. The traffic's the traffic. There's not a lot we can do about it. And what we'll do is take this as an Exhibit A and have it subsumed within the judgment. And that's my respectful recommendation to you, to deal with the order of court. I don't know if Attorney Murray has, we don't need to hear from the ward counsel.
No, there are additional copies.
Oh,
Actually, Sharon, didn't we read? Thank you, members of the board. Carolyn Murray from KP Law for Habit Opco. I just wanted to thank you for your time and indulgence. There are extra copies of the plan. My intent was not for Attorney Timmons to just sit here and hold it up for you, but you could actually see it. And we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So, Mr. Solicitor, so I guess I'm just thinking about the wording of this. What basically we're doing is we're saying that we're approving of this plan with these, but I guess that's what we really approved, that we're overturning our decision. And we're going to make a motion. And that we're approving the plan. The parking plan. That's pretty what we have here.
Yes, if there were any discussion about the mitigation, I happily entertain it. And I do know it's a bit unfair that it was just dropped in front of you moments ago, but I felt at the original meeting on October 8th that it had been somewhat entrusted to me to address it. So I think that perhaps a motion to the effect that the solicitor report back to the court with the mitigation agreed to by the board, that a motion to that nature would be sufficient, and then I'll make sure that.
And modified order agreed to by all parties for the action.
Right. And I'll get a copy of what is submitted to the court, well, I should say what the court sends back endorsed to Ms. Brienzi, so that there's a proper record in the jacketed inspection services. Got plenty of attorneys here to figure it out.
I have one question. You said that the court and the city had traffic reports before the judge, that's correct?
Yes, that is correct. The city's report was not one that the city itself prepared. Our traffic engineer provided to us something that was done by the Mass Department of Transportation. Mass DOT did a fairly, like a 340-page report. So that was in front of the court, actually by agreement, not simply by the city. And then Habit Opco hired a traffic engineer who did a fairly extensive report, and he testified at trial.
Thank you.
So, I'm obviously going to be voting to do what you have to do here. How's everybody else?
Yeah.
Unanimous? I want
Yeah. Who's that?
wasn't on it.
You?
You here? Going on, you know? Thank you. I'll take on it. You didn't. You look busy with your back.
Mike, Charlie, Brian, Jeff, and John.
Well, no, Rob, we,
Said 5 a.m. wake up.
we're overturning our decision. We have entrusted the city solicitor to do our homework for us, to develop this plan, which he's done, and I think that's pretty much what I need to say. Except for what? What you asked before?
That we agree to approve the plan proposed by the city solicitor, provided that it is incorporated into a modified order to go to the court, it's been approved by all parties.
That's our motion, right? So, anyone wants to second it? Second. Motion seen, all in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blaze.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, solicitor. Have a good night.
Thank you.
I just have one more thing here to clean up. B 1975, 162 Winthrop Street, is the applicant here?
Yes.
We step forward. 162. continue this to November 19th, if that's okay?
Okay.
There's a few people who live in the street, just want to sit with you and go through the plans. They're not opposed to it, they just want to look at them a little closer, which somehow they didn't get this yet.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
We'll do that November 19th. I need a motion for case number Z1975. Aaron Kelly for variance to tear down the existing structure through the foundation and rebuild the same footprint with 330 square foot addition on the premise number 162 Winter Street. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to matter Z19-75, which you just spoke about, I believe. Aaron Kelly making a motion to continue the hearing to November 19th.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, so moved. Thanks, Scott. Further on to old business, case number Z1964, Tony Wine for special permit variance floodplain to subdivide the lot into 2 lots and construct a single-family home on the newly created lot in front of 66 Crabtree Road. Applicant and representative here.
Applicant is here, and counsel for the applicant, Christopher and Carol.
Carol, you have the floor. Tell us what you want to do.
Good evening. Tonight, we're here for the application.
Huh?
And
Yeah. You get fired again?
yeah,
Sorry, Council.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes, right. John.
All set?
That's right.
Yes, good evening. Tonight, we're here in regard to a zoning application regarding 66 Crabtree Road in Squanah. And I'm going to give you a little background information. My name is Christopher Carroll, I'm an attorney in Quincy. Tonight, I have on the architectural team Bonnie Tan and Jim Chen. Sean Hardy is involved as far as civil engineering goes and drainage. He's not here tonight, but I will tell you what he has provided me. Dan Webb is here as a structural engineer to ensure that the home can withstand any coastal activity. Richard Tizzy has been retained to design the piles, the micro piles on the site. Kara Goslin is here tonight. She prepared the tree ordinance application that we presented to Commissioner Murphy. And in addition, Steve DeRoche is here as our civil engineer. Just a little background information. Tony and Shirley Wine are joint owners of 66 Crabtree Road in Squanah. It's a waterfront property. This particular property consists of 18,192 square feet. They've been residents in Squanah for over 40 years, wintering down south, spending a great time in Squanah. What they're hoping to do is create a 7,308 foot square lot. So let me give you a little background on it. Mr. Wine called me this past spring. He had hired a local land use attorney in the city of Quincy in January to handle the matter, and due to his busy schedule, I don't really know, it wasn't going forward, so Mr. Wine asked me to step in. And what he told me was, because of health issues of him and his companion, Joan Harris, that they wanted to build an adjacent home next to the main structure at 66 Crabtree Road. His big emphasis was energy efficient, handicapped access, and sad as it may seem, to create a home, if he had to spend his final days, that's where they'd be. So he couldn't emphasize more how he wanted to create a beautiful environment from a landscape point of view. So as a result of that, we did a lot of research with the city of Quincy. They were fantastic. We talked with Conservation Commission agents, we talked with the building commissioners, and Steve DeRoche did his work as far as the survey goes, and we wanted to create a 7,308 square lot, seeking zoning relief. The real reason is Mrs. Wine in the primary structure has an enclosed pool, and to modify that pool, it just couldn't be done. She needs it for therapeutic and health reasons. So that would have given us the 500 square feet, but we thought we'd go the route of looking for the 7,300 square foot lot. In addition, we're seeking a special permit. We also have a permit, an application running concurrent with the Conservation Commission. as well as our submissions in regard to the tree ordinance. Due to the topography and the location of the land, we have a velocity zone in the front of the lot by the water, so we can't build in elevation 16 or less, and that's why we're going to put the structure up on where it is on these proposals. Now, the big thing was, it was encouraged that we had a neighborhood meeting, so I will submit it, but Mr. Wine went around with approximately 100 packets of the Swan neighborhood with my number, his number. We heard from some neighbors, but also we conducted a neighborhood meeting at the Kennedy Center with Bill Harris, Councilor Bill Harris. Councilor Bill Harris basically said, we're gonna leave it up to the subject matter experts, zoning and conservation, and he conducted the meeting. But we walked away from the meeting with a few areas that we needed to tweak so that we could seek this relief tonight. There was design issues on the front of the building. People wanted it tweaked. Ms. Tyne will speak to that tonight. The appearance, again, parking. People did not want a garage. So as a result of it, we eliminated our garage proposal and we put 2 parking spaces on the east side of the lot abutting a neighbor so that we could keep that out of the stream or out of the view, whatever the case may be. One neighbor was very concerned about a view, even though it's not your purview. Mr. Wine was adamant about working with that neighbor, and he lowered the structure from 2.5 stories to 2. So, the thing that was surprising, some neighbors raised the point that the house wasn't aesthetically pleasing. We've done some research. There's a new home going in at 3 Crabtree that's contemporary. There's a beautiful home up on the hill at 51 Crabtree Road. 160 Crabtree is the contemporary design, and if you look up the hill to Livesley Road, there's another contemporary. So there's definitely homes like this in the neighborhood. So tonight, we're looking for the relief in those 3 areas, the curb cut, floodplain issue, and the lot issue. I just want to emphasize more, this is not a speculative venture. It's for a 40-year resident trying to do some health planning and doesn't want to move, wants to stay in Squantum. So we ask the board for any consideration of our request. I'm sure people will speak tonight. I'll bring in our team. They'll announce their names. And at the end, if you have any questions, I'll gladly do a wrap-up. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jim Chen, the architect, representing Mr. Wine, the homeowner. So,
Address?
585 Washington Street in Quincy.
Thanks.
So we tried our best to try to interpret the Mr. Wine's vision of this house. So our goal is to come up with the contemporary home. And majority of the facade has changed, where we use different type of materials to differentiate some of the inset and bump outs. And at the entrance, we have a sort of a overhang, 3 feet overhang canopy right over the entrance. The use of different type of windows really elaborates that sense of contemporariness. And the exterior material is on this facade is we use stone veneer, and on the surrounding we use wood planks, either in vertical or horizontal patterns. And at the rear, facing the water, Mr. Wine's vision is to have this view really open up to the water. So on the lower level and the top level is all glass, structural glass. And the main level where Mr. Wine will spend most of his time. And the ceiling height is about 16 feet tall. His vision was to have a mezzanine level but in that space here. So
Is there going to be, or there is?
there will be a mezzanine level. That is, because that space is 16 feet, so there's room for that. And we also changed the roof of this building was to slope upward. He's facing the water, slope upward at a slope to enhance that view to the water.
Excuse me, speak up, please. Speak up.
I'm also
What do you say, what are you using, hardy plank on the side?
wood planks.
Wood planks. 16 feet the mezzanine with the front glass. And what's that, the main level?
The main
Is that
level,
gonna be all wood there, or is that cement, or what is it?
the floor will be cantilever with steel and some concrete slabs.
Any questions?
How tall is the structure?
The height of the structure from the average grade point is 30 feet.
But from street level, what will it look like?
But from street level, it'll be much lower. From street level, 16 feet to the top. So in other words, 16 feet here, but then it slopes out to about 19, 20.
Thank you.
Anything?
What type of wood? Using mahogany or redwood or?
Probably redwood.
Thank you. How many bedrooms are gonna be in there?
3 bed.
How many bathrooms?
Mr. Chairman.
2 bathrooms.
Thanks. Anything else? Thank you.
Council, what's the side setback? The neighbor on the
It's all setbacks according to the city of Quincy. What's the side setback?
there's 13, yeah, okay, I was just seeing, it looked like it was set.
We met all the setbacks.
Yeah.
The only exception we're looking for is the 7,000.
And the setbacks are maintained in the existing house on the new lot created. Because I can't see it on, the plan doesn't give me the dimensions where the cut down the middle is.
See, we're creating the front setback.
Side setback. The
Oh,
set-
side,
The
yes.
side setback.
Yes,
And it
it's
face back to the right.
Correct.
What?
I couldn't tell from the plan.
No, I know. I'm looking at the rear setback. What's the rear setback? I don't know how far we don't go.
High tide, low tide?
No, this thing, you still gotta maintain it.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know where he owns the property. The engineer, it don't look like a
Most of those
lot.
coastal properties go out.
This don't look like a lot.
From the top of the wall, I believe it's 20. No, it's right here. The surveyor, Steve,
Yeah.
Steve, can you step forward to address the setbacks, please? Mr. Aikens got a question on the rear setback from the ocean. 20 feet, Mr. Aikens. Yeah, to the house.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Better counsel? Thanks, you can have a seat.
Thank you.
Is there anyone like speak in favor? Anyone want to speak in favor? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record, please. Wait, can you hear?
No.
Can you stay loud, please?
Sure. Marjorie Dunbrack, 82 Crabtree Road,
Okay.
left on the other side. We're in favor completely. He's a wonderful neighbor, takes care of his property. There isn't any reason that I can see why he should be able to do this.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else want to speak in favor? Step forward. Anyone else, come on up.
David
We don't have to wait.
82 Crabtree Road. One thing I can say is he's done some work before on the lot, and it came to the drainage issues, which was a subject before. At least in this case, the top corner of my lot used to be just a mud puddle whenever it would rain. And when he redid the area in the corner of his lot, he took care of all that drainage and finally made that actually like normal land again. You know, it's great that I didn't even ask him to do anything like that. He just kind of, you know, took it upon himself to say, you know, this is broken, needs to be fixed, and took care of it, did it right.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Arthur Philip Marr, by Phil, the neighbor right across the street. And probably my property would be impacted as much or more than anyone,
Okay.
because the view of the ocean would be probably impacted by a building. But Mr. Wine has been such an incredible neighbor and so supportive in every possible way that I fully support him. This is going to be good for his health and safety, so he can stay there for the rest of his life. And I just want to give a big positive support.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there anyone else?
Yes.
Is there anyone else after that? Come on up.
Deb Blackadar, Crabtree Road.
Sorry, your name, I'm sorry.
Deb Blackadar, Crabtree Road. The Wine family, they're my landlords. I do say, take care of their property. They really care about Squam. They take care of the property. And I know for health reasons, just the way the current house is now, for them to get around is difficult. I don't think anybody should have to move from an area they've lived in for 30 years just because they're getting older. If they can make an adjustment to their living condition so they can stay in the neighborhood, I think that's only fair. Especially where they've been good neighbors to everyone and they do take care of the property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Anyone
evening.
else in favor?
I'm Joan Harris. I'm the person that hopefully you'll let us build this house tonight. I just want to point out to people that my main reason that this house is being built is because as when I get out of my car, I can walk right to the front door to my home. It's all going to be single-level living for Joni and Tony. Right now, we live in a boathouse. Joni has to go down 3 flights of stairs. So,
Groceries must be heavy, huh?
well, Tony had him going down a zip line. It didn't work.
You gotta wait that day you zip and someone grabs
It didn't work too good for me or the zip line. So everything looks pretty here, but I hate to say it, for medical reasons. I've had half of my lung removed, and I know you don't grant things for medical reasons or give variances for medical reasons. And I know we made a lot of changes. Not too many new houses are built without garages. I did want a garage. I haven't had a garage for my Mercedes for God knows how long. But we've tried to please the neighbors as much as possible. Our first drawings, they called them junk. This is as good as we're gonna get with our drawings. I think they're nice. But my whole purpose is to the car, to the house, to the kitchen counter. So if you could approve this, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Anyone else? Second call?
Thank you. I'm the owner of the property. I bought that from us in 1966. I lived in, I was next since 1966. On 6 Nut Island Avenue, and when this house came available, I purchased it in 1976, so I've been there 44 years. And I like it there, I like Squantum, it's worked out great. I don't know my neighbors,
I have lists of everybody, I gave out over 100 questionnaires to people. Nobody called me, nobody called my lawyer. I don't see any opposition here tonight. But even so, I went to everybody and asked them what they wanted. I wrote it a bill. I've done the best I could for everybody. And I even have letters from her doctor saying that she should not be climbing stairs if you want me to submit those. I have letters from my wife. It's strange, I live there with my wife. I've been separated for almost 35 years. I live with my partner, Joan. She and I have been there about 25 years. It's all compatible, but recently my wife went into the Milton Hospital this summer with 5 days in intensive care. We all need more accommodations. She doesn't want to move. I put her in assisted living in the winter. Joan and I are not climbing the stairs. So we figured if we built this house, the first thing that happened, I called my neighbor, Mr. Keneally, back in January. I said, I'm gonna build a house, I wanna talk to you about it. He said, are you a speculator? I said, no. He said, I'm so relieved. I don't know the man, I've never been in his house. I'm in Mr. Mars' house, I'm alone, I stay by myself. But I do think, no question in my mind that we need it. And we like letters from my wife. She sent letters to the zoning board. And I want to correct one thing, there is a bathroom in the lowest level. Mr. Carroll said there's 2 bathrooms. There's 3 bathrooms in the house, and there's 3 bedrooms in the house. And we have 3-car garage. I've done a lot of building myself, so I know what's done. But the parking is 3 off-street parking spaces for the 3 bedrooms. Generally, that's what the board requires. I know that. And the garage was so crucial there, but when one of my neighbors said he didn't want the garage, by the way, if you see the picture, the house immediately adjacent to my house. Do you have those pictures, Carolyn? Yes. You should know this. Thank you. The house immediately to my east of me, his garage is right on the street. What I've done is, I originally proposed a garage, he's got a two-story garage, right beside his. He didn't want it, so I took the garage out to satisfy him. And he made a video, I think you people have it, showing my house, and then the 5 houses he preferred. And they're all 4,000 or 5,000 feet, 3-car garages, and mine was very simple. We have done about a dozen revisions, and I have them here. As a matter of fact, he complained about my architect, so I discharged him, and I just brought this people on board, Mr. Chen and Bonnie Tan. But we'd like to look at, this is the house, the garage immediately next to my house. And because he didn't want a garage, I'm not gonna have it right. But that's not crucial to me, it's just so my partner can walk in, handicapped accessible house. And I thought if you wanted a copy of the letters from my wife, who's supporting this project, and reasons for it. She's a conservationist, we can't touch any trees. She belongs to Sierra Club, the Friends of the Garden. She's written letters to the board. I thought they should be submitted. If you want to read them, justifying why we're doing it, they have the record, on the record. That's for the
Wait a minute.
You need any more?
Where'd they come from?
Pardon?
Who wrote that letter?
That's my wife. She's owner of the property.
Okay, just
She and
ask
I
a
are
question.
owners.
I just asked a question,
Oh,
go ahead.
okay. I have more letters, if you like them, from individuals in the neighborhood. There's nobody that I know. Is anybody here opposing this plan?
We'll get to that part.
Just like to know, because I went to everybody and I asked them, then do you want me to put into this project? Yeah, okay. So, if you have any questions for me, I'm here. I thought I should be in the owner of the property, I should answer them.
No.
Thank you for your consideration.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else want to speak in favor? Last call? All right, part of the hearing closed. I have a letter here from the DPW to read into the record.
Minor Yankee, Chairman of the zoning board of appeals. Trevor Singh, civil engineer, August 20th, 2019, 66 Crabtree Road, case number Z19-64. We've reviewed the submittal of the above referenced project, and our comments are as follows. 1, specify how much impervious area will be increased due to the development. 2, provide plans showing the existing site conditions, layout of utilities, grading, drainage, and construction details. 3, explain how the surface runoff will be discharged in 3. 4, The subdivision plan should be recorded at the Registry of Deeds in Norfolk County. 5, upon completion of the project, as-built plans showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, and benchmarks defining the total site. Facilities and right-of-ways need to be submitted along with a digital file. The as-built plan shall be stamped and signed by a professional engineer and a land surveyor. Furthermore, if further information is required, please advise.
Call the public hearing closed. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? First call, second call. I'm gonna read these into the record. These are letter of opposers. It's, Mr. Duca, my wife Carol and I are direct abutters of the proposed developer's development. We live 50 Crabtree Road, and it just gives reasons for the 7,300 square feet. And the residents 2.5, and they're opposed to the project. Just too long to read. I'm planning to attend the zoning board. Terry Bushmiller here? All right, I'll read it. I'm planning to attend the zoning board Tuesday, but my schedule says I might not make it in time. I want to express my strong opposition to plans presented by Mr. Vine. I am against the special permit floodplain variance. I look forward to learning more about the implications and responses of the builders at the meeting. We've seen again and being asked to be bent to the zoning board, and I'm opposed to the project. And this here
That's
is...
from his wife. In favor?
No, I don't. I have something else here, like 10,480 page document someone gave me to, it's just a copy of all the stuff that's in our file. That they're opposed to. Let me go back to the end. Goes from everything from A to Z. Where is this from? This is, huh?
It's just exhibits.
Why is it opposed? Who signed it?
40 Crabtree Road. Does not meet front.
No, it doesn't meet front rear setbacks, which it does. Ronna and Harold Goodman, the CCJ Duca with our folder. Last call, anyone? Opposed or undecided? Call up part of the hearing closed. Is counsel here? Counsel Harris? No?
For the record, I spoke with him this evening, and he said that he had the neighborhood meeting, and he felt that you were the subject matter expert, and he'd defer to your opinion.
Oh, he's learning.
You should be on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a beautiful, I think it's a beautiful home, but I'm not that keen about contemporary in certain neighborhoods. I know that they're being built and people like them. I mean, the house itself's a beautiful home. I don't think there's a major impact in it. I think it'd be good. It certainly will bring up the property values around that neighborhood. I know the one across the street, they bought that whole corner lot that was all rock and double the size of the house. Thank God. In fact, my in-laws used to own it. Probably sold it for a nickel and it's worth a couple of billion now. But beautiful homes down there, and I really do. I know they need it, and it's I don't think it's a major impact to that community. I don't. I'd be voting for it.
Likewise, I'll be voting for it.
I will admit to being somewhat astounded by the absence of any opposition based upon my walk around the neighborhood. So I guess I'm going to rely on my other side of Squantum neighbors who have appeared, aside from the butter who was definitely against it. Having seen these pictures, I'm far more comfortable. Contemporary, no contemporary, it's not really. From the water, it's going to look tremendous, but it's far less of an impact on across the street than I was concerned with. And I thank Mr. Wine for explaining who Joni was, since she was moving in, but the wife is staying at the house and using the pool. I got a bunch of notes here that have big questions. So
We'll do a chat.
we have a happy separation over this thing. We got it. I'm going to vote in favor of it.
It's a small design wall. I think he made as many concessions as he possibly could. I didn't like the idea at first, but after seeing the proposal, I'm okay with it.
Nice looking design, suits their purpose well, keeps them in place. I'm voting in favor.
Have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, regarding case number Z1964. Tony White for a special permit variance floodplain to subdivide into 2 lots and construct a single-family home on the newly created lot on the premises numbered 66 Crabtree Road. I'd like to make a motion to grant the requested special permit variance of floodplain.
Second.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you,
Mr.
everyone.
Scout.
Thank you. Appreciate your consideration.
Why don't we take 5 minutes till we clear the room? No, listen, Jeff.
Make a claim for those two.
Further on to tonight's agenda, new business, C-1972, Jeffrey Zinda? For an appeal on the issuance of a building permit for the premises number 184 200 Adams Street. Applicant or representative there. Name and address for the record.
Jeffrey Zinda, 18 Sturgill Road.
You have the floor.
Well, thank you, members of the board, for hearing me this evening. I have some information we can pass around here. I am a direct abutter to the site 184 200 Adams Street that is being redeveloped from a single-family lot into 4 single-family homes. And I believe there's been a significant oversight in reviewing the plans in that an approval not required designation was granted to these job sites, and construction is ongoing. And because of 4 significant issues, first being dimensional insufficiency, second being issues of public safety, third being the City of Quincy tree ordinance, and fourth being some zoning violations I'll get into, I would request that the construction on this site be stopped and that the permits be repealed until further investigation of these issues can occur. The first issue, and this is what I've just distributed to all of you, is around a significant issue at the northeast corner of the site. As you well know, in Table 411, the dimensional requirements of the City of Quincy for residential A, we need 85 feet of frontage for a project site. At this particular point here, about 80 feet in of Lot 4 from the eastern lot line, there is a wall that departs the property of 184 200 Adams Street and is actually on city property. I would say that does not provide adequate frontage for the first lot here being Lot 4. So as we start to back out 85 feet from the eastern edge towards the west here, we see very quickly that you can get 3 additional building sites on here within the dimensional requirements. However, the 4th building site here can get 85 feet of frontage, but now runs out of space by nearly 1,000 square feet to meet the nearly 7,600 square foot minimum lot size
That's
requirement.
if you design it like you developed.
This is just one way of doing it, and obviously I'm not the surveyor or civil engineer for this project. However, I do believe in order to get the curb cuts required to get access to all of these sites, you will have to traverse city land, and a special variance will be required to do that. To the best of my knowledge, that has not been filed for, and because of that, I make the argument this is not as of right construction, because this site does not have access to the public right away.
Let me ask a question, I'm already confused.
Yeah.
Okay?
Where's the city property?
So the section in the diagram is highlighted in yellow here. I'm sorry, I don't have an easel. Maybe I'll just borrow this one here. So the section over here, approximately 80 feet.
Guy's easel's right behind the roof.
Okay, sorry.
Hey, he's got a baller from you.
So this section here of approximately 80 feet in from the eastern edge. This is where this lot line departs at approximately 3 degrees over. And this area in highlight is an existing wall that technically the city owns. Thank you.
How does the city own it?
It's on city property.
On a road?
It is on city property. This is the existing lot line for site 4 here. And this area, this wall, granite wall, varies in height across the frontage, is on city property. I have looked into this and I cannot prove this, but I believe the entire wall was constructed at one point in time by the city of Quincy. It's of similar vintage to the historic wall on the opposite side of the street, which brings in other issues. It is not part of the historic district. The historic district actually ends over here. However, I do believe it is of historic significance. The second issue related to the wall that I believe is of great importance to the neighborhood here is the fact that that wall has significant height. Along the north side here, there's approximately, it varies in height from east to west, but there's almost 7'6" of wall at the center portion here. That obscures the view when moving from west to east down Adams Street. You cannot see this first requested curb cut until you're almost 200 feet close to where a vehicle could be exiting here. At 30 miles an hour, that gives you about 4.5 seconds to react if you're traveling at the speed limit. Most of you have probably been down Adams Street. I don't know very many people who actually travel the speed limit down Adams Street. At 40 miles an hour, you have about 3.5 seconds to react. I think this is a significant public safety issue, and I would ask that a traffic study be done to see if these curb cuts can actually, if they pose a risk or not. Furthermore, as part of the ongoing development, a number of quote-unquote significant trees were removed from the site, those being trees with a caliper of more than 8 inches, as you well know. There was a failure to submit a tree study to the city arborist as required by section 1820.040 prior to the commencement of any work on site. There's also violation of the tree protection procedures in section 18.20.070 prohibited activities within critical root zones. So as you can see here, there's significant material on site that is put within the critical root zone around many existing trees, the ones they did not remove from site. Furthermore, any grade changes would have to be part of a tree study around those existing trees as well. I have observed also that the proposed utility plan to tap into the sanitary sewer system will require further removal of old growth trees along my property line, along the north side of my site, and to tie into that existing infrastructure. And again, to the best of my knowledge, no special permit or study has been submitted to the city as required. Furthermore, the last point I really want to focus in on today is on zoning violation around section 6.2.1. And I'll read it to you where it says, no soil, loam, sand, gravel, or stone shall be removed from any lot not in public use in the city without first obtaining a special permit from the Board of Appeals, except as exempted herein. And again, to the best of my knowledge, no permit has been filed for. Significant amounts of material are being removed week after week from this job site, as I observed. So, as it relates to what I believe are violations of the actual zoning ordinance, those are the 4 major points I would like the board to consider, reconsider in this situation. From more of the emotional, humanistic side, I think you all know this site is directly across from Adams National Park. It is a historic treasure, and what the density of development that is being put on this site is a travesty. It is an absolute travesty and an eyesore across from one of our most remarkable sites in Quincy. So I would ask that this board reconsider the building permits that you have approved. I do believe a number of studies need to be done And I would ask that the density of this site be reconsidered because it does not meet the dimensional requirements as required in the ordinance table 4.1.1.
Thank you. Mr. Duca, could you tell us what's going on down there? I mean, with
Good evening,
everything
board
that's-
members, Jay Duca for the record, Director of Inspection Services,
Address?
55 C Street.
Thank you. What I see here is through the drawing that's here, that you have in your file, it says it meets all. And I know what he drew here, the redrew, with a stone wall up there. Maybe you can explain why they got the permit with this drawing, because this drawing is a little different.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can tell you that the engineering department has approved these drawings. The wall is not clear who owns it and whose property it's on. The original plan called for driveways, 4 individual driveways. The applicant has agreed at his own expense to provide a private access way behind the wall on private property so that the driveways would not have to be built. And the wall could remain intact. In addition to that, the canopies and the trees that overhang Adams Street would also remain intact. There is a substantial landscaping plan that's on file with this. Dave Murphy, the tree Director of Parks and Recreation, has been looking at the plan. It's going to be a combination of what he's replanting on the site, which is substantial, and he will be having to put some money into the tree ordinance, into the tree fund.
So much for picking.
So that's being worked out as we speak. The section that he's talking about, earth removal 6.2, at the end of that section, 6.2.5, paragraph 3, is an exemption that you can take as much earth removal as long as it's in connection with a lawfully issued building permit. So they didn't get to the part where they show all the exemptions to that section. I've looked over that, the subdivision plan, which was recorded in 2001, I believe. I've looked it over ad nauseum with the surveyor. We looked at all the different setbacks that apply to this. I can assure this board that it meets all the dimensional requirements in our ordinance, the table of uses, setbacks, and I'll be glad to answer any other questions.
So on this plan here, it's showing driveways. You're saying they're not gonna be there?
Yeah, there's been other plans that have been developed by the applicant and submitted that are also in the file.
So that thing he's talking about, that distance, that driveway's not gonna be there. The second one in.
This one?
No, over one.
This one?
Yeah,
This driveway will not be in.
okay.
There will be a driveway here, there'll be an entrance in the existing driveway. There'll be a private access with drainage, it's all been engineered and approved by the engineering department, and there'll be an exit driveway over here.
So the wall's gonna stay, everything's
Wall's
gonna
gonna
stay
stay.
except just to cut in, to come in and out, come in one way, go out, okay.
Mr. Duca, where is that little road going again? So the road is going to be set back about 10 feet. And it's going to be a drive, and it's going to be substantial landscaping. In several places, there'll be a wooden, historically appropriate guardrail at a couple of points. Because the wall is very low on this side, and it's kind of high on this side, so that's why they don't want to disturb this part of it. So in a couple of turns, there may be there's a couple of wood guardrails, along with shrubbery and landscaping.
Any other questions?
I have one question. Mr. Duca, is there a city layout for Adams Street in that area? A filed city layout when they built the road?
All I have before me is a 4 plot plans and a subdivision plan. I don't know, I maybe I don't
The
understand.
contention on the walls, and I have some history building walls for roads.
Yep,
And the contention on that is that if the wall holds back the property from the road, the property owner owns the wall. If the wall holds back the road from the property, the entity owns the wall. Okay? If there's a public layout of that, that would show you the width of the highway in that road. So I don't know if there's a public layout.
there is not. And we did look for that. I looked at that with Solicitor Timmons, and we couldn't really determine who owns the wall, but it appears that the wall is on private land. Maybe built by the city.
Right.
But.
And generally, that's what they did. If they cut that road through an area there, and they built the wall,
Yep.
the understanding would be that it was more critical to the property owner, so the property owner would be the one that owned the wall, not the city.
Even though they built it.
Right, even though they built it, and then you can go today and look at state highway layouts and city layouts everywhere, and that's what you'll find. Of course, unless you have a 32-foot wall and it's unreasonable for the property owner to be responsible for it, which we built a couple of those down the Cape. But in 99% of the instances, that wall would be either owned or the responsibility of the property owner, because it's critical to him and not to the road. No questions here.
When was the lot subdivided?
According to what I remember, it was subdivided sometime early in 2000 and recorded. And for whatever reason, I wasn't aware of it until this came to light in the past year.
And just for people's process, when they come in and they come in with a by right project based on setbacks and ordinances that we have for Residence A, you issue a permit whether it was 4 houses or 1 house.
We've issued thousands and thousands of permits by right, yeah. And, I do agree, I think the applicant should have reached out and let the neighborhood know what's going on. As you know, they went in and just started clear cutting trees. I have seen the plans, I've seen the houses. They're, substantial houses and substantial.
So Mr. Murphy knows all about the trees.
Mr. Murphy's all on board, I've met with him several times. I think Mr. Zinder has talked to Mr. Murphy, but the tree audits will be adhered to, and that's in process.
Good. I have no further questions. Thank you. And I know we can all have opinions on it, and it ain't gonna matter. It's what's gonna happen. The board upholds the applicant or the city for issuing the permits. And whoever wants to goes to the next step. There's no input here that we're gonna need more than what we have right here. And I would say the city did its job. I would just say, no one likes it because of where it is. I get that. I get that a lot. It's too bad someone didn't buy that and really do it right. Like, a couple nice homes on that, really. On Adams Street especially. They didn't. Look at the song. I'm gonna uphold the city. Mr. Cooper told me he did the due diligence. It's a shame that we have to put 4 single-family homes in that part of the city, but that's the way it is.
A couple of questions for Mr. Duke.
Yep.
A few more. Mr. Duke, now, there's construction already happening. And there's the permits for 4 houses.
Correct.
And how many are being worked on now?
There are 2 being built right now.
2 being built right now. And the other 2?
The third might be
Like
starting.
Thank you. I was thinking if there could be some sort of something, but the permits are there. Nothing bad about the permits. Yes, people don't like change. It's a very, historic spot.
No, I like the idea that they didn't put that driveways in, because that really would have made a mess out of it. That would have looked horrible.
Yeah.
I think it would have changed the whole look. At least the wall's gonna stay. And then they can come in one side, go behind it, and come in this side, and go up the end. There's 2 holes. That was already there, so they're cutting 1 hole, 1 wall. Right.
And,
I think they took a thought about that too, where it is, because of where it is. So the driveways won't be there. Plus, no one will get hurt coming out of this thing they can't see.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's for
And
real.
that's- yeah,
That's for
it's-
real.
people-
No one drives 30.
No, no one drives
No,
30.
no way.
I'll be honest with you, a few minutes ago.
How fast are you going?
40.
You're looking for it.
You're
Comments?
I'm not in favor of rescinding the permit. The reason being, if they're addressing the driveway concerns, the trees seem to be getting addressed. And the wall, it's a he said, she said. In my experience, in most surveyors, it will tell you that if the wall is critical to a property, it belongs to the property owner, and there's no way to prove or disprove it, and you have to assume then that he owns it, that that's owned by the property owner. So, and like I said, I know the building of many, not just a few, not a handful, but a few hundred, and that's the case. So I have to stand to withhold the permit as issued.
You mentioned that you objected to the dimensions, the safety issues, the trees, the zoning, traffic study required, and density. But from what Mr. Duque has said, the permit takes care of most of that. The additional driveway takes care of the safety. The trees are going to be addressed, or have been addressed by Mr. Murphy. And the zoning and the density are part of the permit that was approved. So I think all of those issues that you raised have been addressed, were addressed 18 years ago. So I'm going to pull the permit.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Have a motion, please, to deny the request.
Am I allowed to make further comment?
No.
Mr. Chairman, in matter number Z19-72, represented for appeal on the issuance of a building permit for the premises, building permits for the premises number 184 to 200 Adams Street. I make the motion to deny the appeal.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? So moved. Further on to tonight's agenda, case number Z 1973. Sam Zeng for a variance finding to construct a second-story addition on the existing building footprint in 1997 Sherman Street, Quincy. Why don't we wait 2 minutes till it's cleared up?
Is that total lot size 83,000 square feet?
2 acres. I mean, that's, that's like,
It's too bad, I wanted to speak in support if he would have left us, what it is out there.
no, there's nothing in the ordinance, there's nothing in Res A that would allow to, not approve it.
Well,
They appear to have accepted it.
in all reality, would the neighborhood rather 24 units with 24 parking
But you
spaces?
can't do that in Res A, so that's the difference, it's Res A.
Well, we're almost forcing you guys now to change zoning to 6,000 square feet, maybe 70 feet in the front, because the average lot size in Quincy is probably 5,000 square feet. So, I think complaining is gonna make it worse. But I did my homework on that project, so.
Actual, right now, 27, 20, this one's 13, that's the small one. No.
The applicant representative here. Yes. You have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jim Chen, architect representing Mr. Chen tonight for his property at 97 Sherman Street. This subject property is located within the residential A zoning district. Existing home has 2 bedrooms, but city record shows that it has 3 bedrooms. The owner plans to have his daughter move back to the house closer to home with the family, so therefore they need additional bedrooms. So what we're proposing here is a additional story right on top of the existing building footprint, adding 2 additional bedrooms and a bathroom on the 2nd floor. It meets all the dimensional requirements, setbacks, and all the heights per section 4.1 zoning for the existing non-conformist lot, except for the number of stories. In residential A zoning district, the maximum is 2.5 stories, but due to the basement being 4 feet higher, where currently existing basement is at 5 foot 2 inch. So above the exterior grade. By zoning, it is considered a story. So this proposal will consider a 3-story by definition. The current 3 parking space allows for the 2 additional bedroom in this zone. So I believe that this proposal is consistent with the surrounding neighborhoods, will not be any more detrimental.
What's she doing in the basement?
The basement currently has been laid out for storage, but we'll take all those walls out and it's going to be open for storage.
I'll be in favor of that. I mean, I like that. You have a right to go with second story. I have no question.
I have no questions.
Likewise, no question.
No questions. Thank you. You can have a seat. Is there anyone who wants to speak in favor? First call, second call. Third call closed. I got a letter from DPW to review the above referenced project and have no comments. Anyone opposed or undecided? First call, second call, third call closed. I'll be voting in favor as long as it gets put first, the basement won't be left open.
I'll be voting for it too, Mr. Chairman.
Agree with embrace.
I'm in favor.
Sam, motion please.
Mr. Chairman, matter number Z19-73, Sam Zane for a variance finding to construct a second story roof on the existing building footprint on a premise number 93 Bowden Street. I made a motion to grant the variance with the condition that the basement stay as always.
Second.
On the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Further on tonight's agenda, case number Z1976, Matthew Gore for variance to subdivide the existing lot into 2 lots, constructing a single-family home on the newly created lot 138 Independence Ave. The applicant and representative here.
Good evening, board members. For the record, Steve DeRoche, the Boston Valley Survey Associates, 95 White Street here in the city of Quincy. Before I begin, I would like to say thank you for the Adams Street decision. We were the engineers and surveyors in that, and this is the first I ever heard of anybody bringing something before the court tonight.
I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, you know, Jay Duker and I mean, he worked tirelessly with me
What do you get
over
tonight,
this whole
brother?
thing.
Come on, you gotta go to bed.
I'm here though this evening for my clients Matthew Gore and Jeffrey Gore, the owners of the property at 138 Independence Avenue. They have an approximate 8,000 square foot lot there, a little over 1,000 square feet, with an existing single-family dwelling on it. And the single-family dwelling basically hugs the left-hand side of the lot, okay? They wanted me to turn into a subdivision, so we could get another house there. Jeff Gore and his dad and his sister, I believe, they live there now in the house. Matt lives somewhere else. He wants to build a house there and live there with his significant other, okay? We brought this before Council Pelley. I sent everything to him, and he said no community meeting, but he sent out the notice to all the abutters, okay? We submitted the plans, the building plans, and the subdivision plan, and then come to find out that just about a couple of weeks ago, Jeff Gore, thinking he wants to take that garage down now. we held up the proposed property line because of the existing garage, we just held it off of it. But if they take that garage down, that line could be moved a little bit, again, according to the board's pleasure.
Is that a two-family, that house on the left that's there now?
Single family.
A single?
Yeah, and we're gonna propose a single family also. Okay. Then the proposed lot one is gonna have a little over 4,500 square feet. Lot two will be have a little over 3,400 square feet. There are several homes in the neighborhood, several properties in the neighborhood that are equal or less than.
I know.
You're right, I got several copies of the assessment at that point. During the process, I told Matt that he's got to go up, he's got to knock on doors, see his neighbors, and see if there's anybody having problems. And he tells me that to date he hasn't had no problems with anybody. And he's given me a half a dozen packages here, like four recommendations from others. I can present those to the board. Again, it's going to be a single-family house on a newly created lot. We don't believe it's going to be any kind of a detriment to the neighborhood because of the makeup of the existing neighborhood there now. Should anybody have any questions, I think we'll have to answer them for you.
I don't have any questions. I don't. I think it's way too small. I know they did that before, but I can't be in favor of subdividing that lot. It's okay to have a big lot. People today, it's just cramming in Quincy and it's getting crazy. I know, I'm just letting you know how I feel. I won't be voting in favor.
Well, is there
I don't have any questions.
Is there anything to be done there?
Nothing to be done. If they got a nice lot, they should keep it and enjoy it, but it's just me. Do you have any questions?
I don't, except maybe an addition would be better, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of space.
Well, that's the other alternative, is the big huge addition,
Yeah.
be turned into a condominium or something.
Well,
Now you have two owners under one structure, you know.
well, it's the same as this is two owners in the same, correct way of
Oh,
talking.
yeah, residence fee, and
Anyway,
whatever, yeah. Any questions?
Now, did you say the call was to take the garage down now?
I'm sorry?
To
If he
take
has
the
to.
garage down?
Yeah, he's planning to tear the garage down.
Thank you. I don't have
No questions.
Thank you. Does anyone want to speak in favor? First call, second call.
Marty, I just got a neutral question.
Sure.
What zoning is this in?
B.
Oh, residence B? Okay, then I'm neutral.
Anyone? Second call, in favor? Third call that part of the hearing closed. I have a letter here from the DPW, reviewed the amount of this project and have no comments. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? First call, second call, third call closed. I just can't. Build a house, put a big addition on it, make it a two-family, whatever you want. I don't think it's just cramming it. I would just vote no myself.
Well,
Wait a minute, please.
Yeah, I would vote no also. I think it is just cramming too much in.
I agree.
Yeah, it's too, lot's too small.
Same. Comment?
May I ask for continuance? I'm sorry, withdrawal of offer.
Dave? Yeah, no problem. Okay. Have a motion to withdraw referendum.
Chairman, Madam Z 19-76, back to the floor for a variance to subdivide the existing lot into two lots, construct a new single-family home in the created lot, the premises number 138 East Avenue, and make a motion to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next case, C 1977, Stephen Albert, just, how do you say your last name? Wait, Providing to reconstruct the pre-existing non-conforming structure on the premise number 862 East Swan Street. Now, for the record, he is my neighbor, he lives across the street. I have no,
And you don't know
we
how to
don't go out
pronounce
and
his
eat together, we don't go out and We're the same yacht club, but it's not influenced me either way, it's a project. If anyone has any question here, me sitting on it, please raise it now.
I'm just kidding.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
I wanted to ask him, like, do you like him?
He's all right.
Okay.
He does.
He's a good neighbor.
Right, he does, yeah.
Now that he's got truck calmed down, the blowpipe on it, the truck, whatever it was, good neighbor now. You have the floor.
Good evening, gentlemen, counselor, and gentlemen of the board. My name is Drew Wojcinski, this is my wife Adela. We purchased this property at 862 East Squantum Street in front of you. And we're asking for a finding to build on the pre-existing non-conforming lot. We're only looking to do a vertical extension. We do not plan on extending anywhere beyond the existing footprint.
On the two dormers that are up there, how big is the inside of the bar area? I know the deck is just flat on the second floor. I have no problem with it at all.
So
How big is that dormer?
on that half level,
Yeah.
the dormer is a span of 16 foot it might be a little smaller than 16, I'm sorry, but it's 14 to 16 feet.
That's what I
And
thought,
it's just
wasn't
to
that big.
accommodate a standing area against the wall where we can have a small bar area.
And then walk out with that.
And a walkout, yeah, exactly.
And I know in that area there is that's what you want, that's what you want. I get it. And I'll tell you, something's gotta be done with that piece anyway.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
The house was built in 1920 and it's in dire need of reconstruction regardless.
And
And
now,
we're
another
hoping to-
question I might have, if you start ripping that down, and you find out that the foundation isn't what it is, you might have to redo that, but you would do the same footprint, correct?
Correct.
Exactly as these
We would
plans.
stay in the exact footprint, that was the plan all along, and will not change.
And the second deck, you're gonna have the overhang without a deck?
So we do have a slight variation that we could propose there. But the front deck, I did a 3D image here for your viewing. And that just shows that the house conforms with the neighborhood and it's very aesthetically pleasing. And yes, this little pop out in the front would be part of the roof deck. And we were considering, sorry, was that your question?
Yeah.
About this little pop out?
Yeah.
Right, so to answer your question, yes, that would be
Okay.
part of the roof deck.
And the front deck, didn't you have a deck in the front?
Correct, so
Yeah,
as
it's
part of
gonna go-
the original plan here,
Okay.
we do have a roof deck over that bump
But that's
out area.
going?
We were considering putting a regular roof over
Mhm.
that because it would make
Because of
the
the
house,
front, it would look,
it would make
a lot-
the
that's what I
front
think
more
too.
aesthetically pleasing, correct?
Okay. All right. I have no question.
I don't have any questions.
You're leaving the neck to go to the Swan, is that the truth? Is that-
We're not leaving, sir.
Not yet,
No, no.
not yet. They might.
No,
Might get rid of his neighbor.
Yeah, it depends how my neighbor acts.
Get rid of my neighbor.
No question.
Thank you, you can have a seat.
I tell you.
Is there anyone that wants to speak in favor? First call, second call, third call closed. I have a letter here to be read in from the DPW.
We reviewed the submittal for the above referenced project. Our comments are as follows. One, specify how much impervious area will be increased due to the development. Two, provide plans showing the layout of utility, grading, drainage, and the construction details. Three, explain how the surface runoff will be discharged and treated. Four, provide dimensions and grades for the paving area and all driveway entrances. Five, upon the completion of the project, as-built plans showing all utilities, buildings, footprints. Reference boundary benchmarks defining the total site, facilities, and right-of-way need to be submitted along with a digital file. The as-built plan shall be stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor or professional engineer.
Call that part of the hearing closed. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? Opposed or undecided? First call, second call, third call closed. I'll be voting in favor.
I'll be voting in favor
It's gonna
also.
look really nice down there, it's gonna be a nice upgrade to that. That's a house show.
Yeah, right now,
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor, nice upgrade.
Yeah.
worried about is finding something with that foundation because,
I know, you might have to.
We're fully prepared for that. We've
Yeah.
considered all options with our engineer and definitely plan on taking care of it accordingly.
Have a motion, please?
Z19-77, Stephen and Ada. Adela, too. See, I'm so worried about which, yeah, I can't get it, you know. For finding to reconstruct a pre-existing non-conforming structure on the premises number 862 East Squantum Street. I make a motion.
Make a mess.
I make a mess. It's the end of the night. I make a motion to grant, actually, it's not the end of the night, to grant the finding.
Yeah, second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? So moved. Thank you,
Thank
good luck,
you
guys.
very much for your consideration.
Last on the agenda. Notice to say it appears for special permit variance to construct a 5-car garage in the lot for tenants on the premises under 391 Granite. You have the floor. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pat Fisher. I'm with Fisher Associates Architects, 35 Fisher Road in Weymouth. And I'm representing the owners of the building, Cecilia and Robert Pierce. The building is 391 Granite Street, and it is located at the corners of Town Hill, Granite, and a private way. So the lot is burdened by having 3 front yard setbacks. The house, 391 Granite Street, was built approximately 1929. It is a 3-story wood frame building, and it contains 5 housing units. The neighborhood, on this side of the neighborhood, the Town Hill Street side, is Residence B. The private way and the other side are Business B. The homes that are along this side in the Residence B are up very high, as you can see in this picture right here. They all back onto all of these homes. They're all multifamily homes, and they all back onto the private way. The buildings and the uses that open onto the private way are multi-family, large apartment buildings, various commercial and industrial uses. And they're all along here. The area is just a short block away from the Brewer's Corner area. Mr. and Mrs. Pierce have owned this property for 50 years. They own a second property not far away they've had for 55 years. They've been the continuous owners for over 50 years in both of these properties. They have all low income, very low income tenants. Primarily the tenants do not own vehicles. In the history that they have had this building, they've had no more than one tenant that has a vehicle. They are very close to the intersection here of Water Street and within a long walk of Quincy Center. So public transportation is readily available to their tenants, and that's pretty much what has happened all these years. They have currently one tenant with a car, and they park in the one parking space up here. We're proposing 2 other open parking spaces. As you can see, this is the building, that's the Granite Street view. This is the private way view. Mr. Pierce is immaculate with the care of his properties. These would be the locations of the 2 cars. These are not tenants' cars, this is myself and the photographer. I put the cars here so you would see where the 2 parking spaces are. The lot is kept immaculately. All right, so what the issue is that there are some problems with the open area. This is a Panavision of the entire lot. This is 391 Granite Street and parking spaces. This is the open area, and it comes down to just beyond this car.
How many cars can that take right now?
Well, right now, there's only 3 marked spaces. This is just kind of all overgrowth.
But how many could it take? How many cars?
Well, we're proposing 5 cars, parking garage.
But
so-
how many would the lot take if you did it right?
Oh, if you did 9-foot spaces? Well, let's see, 64 divided by 9 is, 9 times 7 is 63. So it'd be 7, it'd be about 9 spaces altogether.
Why you want a garage there and not have the open spaces for your tenants?
Well, the tenants don't actually ever have cars. Is pretty much what the issue is. Nobody's ever parking there. There's the one tenant right now that does have a car, and most of their friends, their family, their visitors don't come in cars.
What I read is you're gonna rent this maybe to other people in the neighborhood.
Yes.
So it's gonna be a business, that lot.
Right, right. If a tenant does come and they do have a car, they'll be offered one of the open spaces or the ability to rent covered parking, which is more value in covered parking. One very critical note here is that the private way is not maintained by the city of Quincy, so the neighbors all have to sort of scramble to maintain it themselves. So they're going to house a snowplow in the garage for use of the private way, so they can take care of that problem that they have now.
Well, who does it now? You just all take care of it and get it done, right?
Right, yeah, so now the snowplow will be right there on site. So what they're proposing, or he's proposing is basically a smart building, an energy efficient building. It's going to be 5 covered parking spaces inside a building. Obviously, it's a metal building, 1-story metal building, 19 feet high, 13 feet at the eave. There's going to be solar panels on the roof, electric charging stations, 5 electric charging stations in the garages, and energy efficient lighting throughout the garage.
So anyone that has an electric car on there and wants to plug in, they could get on there and rent the spot.
Right. Yeah, these garages would be leased. Right now, there is
Can it be separately needed,
Yes,
each parking space?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Right now, it's can be a problem. It's just open space. The Pierces have a lot of problems keeping it clean because people just dump. They come down the private way, it's dark, it doesn't look like anybody owns it, it's like no man's land, and they just get stuff dumped there all the time. And they do, the Pierces have talked to all of their neighbors, presented these plans, they're getting a lot of good feedback, not much opposition. They've had some interest already, people that are interested in leasing these garage spaces. This is approximately the look of the garage. 5 doors, man doors on the end.
So you're only gonna have 5 spaces in that whole lot?
Well,
2 at the end?
Yeah, well, there'll be 2 open, and then 5 inside the garage.
The garage is gonna be that big to take up that whole lot, huh?
Yeah, 64 feet, 12.5-foot garage spaces. And they're tall doors, so it's, it's possible that it's going to be.
Get a truck in there.
Yeah, you can get a truck in there, because the snowplow is a, what'd you say, F-250?
An F-250.
F-250, yeah, is what we're, thinking about. So here's an aerial view right here of the lot. And this is the part, it just backs up to these houses, multifamily houses that are much higher above where the garage is going to go. See, it's just, right now it's dead space. The private way just continues down to various commercial spaces. It's, I don't think, you know, it's gonna clean up kind of a dead area, putting this
You take
garage
a lot
in.
of trees out of it? Or that grow tree out of it?
Yeah, you know, I'm not really sure they're trees, they're kind of these overgrown, scrubby looking viney things that are all wrapped around each other.
I'm gonna get big going, there's still some wrapped around the shoe.
Yeah, you can see it better in these pictures, what's
Yeah,
going
those are-
on.
Yeah, I didn't know how big the trees are.
Yeah,
Messing
yeah, it is kind of just a
with- Yeah.
viney mess. Are there any trees in there? Seem to just be overgrown weeds.
Growing.
Yeah, it's kind of a scrub growth. You can see in this picture right here, it's all different colors and different leaves and. So, you know, we feel that this will be a benefit to the neighborhood to be able to offer these spaces. It'll clean up that lot that's kind of a mess all the time because of all the illegal dumping on it. There is some interest already from the neighborhood renting these spaces. You know, it'll help the green initiative because it'll be a very efficient building. It's, you know, other than anybody that does choose to charge, it's not going to be a big draw of power anyway. Just a little bit of lighting, some garage door openers. But it'd be great to have the charging stations.
Well, it's not being used now, you're right. I mean, at least you make a business out of it, I guess. Not like any garages, but that's all.
You hate garage?
Yeah, all my garages. I think they're ugly.
One question.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Do you know if there's any rights on the private way to the property? Is there a right of way or? do you
Right
know?
away
From drainage?
Utilities or anything, just to get to anything, sewage or anything?
Well, this is.
Nothing on the plot plan. so I
Yeah,
didn't know
right,
if you
I don't
wanted-
think so, I mean,
They'd find out.
yeah, Miller survey, yeah, well, yeah, he would have, I'm sure, told us if there was.
Any questions?
I just one, is it 5 spaces less the snowplow, or is it snowplow's
No,
gonna keep it
snowplow
back in there?
is one of the 5, yes.
So once they get the rent check for that, the snowplow goes outside.
Right, that takes the one space.
The other house
Tenant
goes
is-
back home.
Tenants use it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
the
should the
50
arrangement
back
on the snowplow, would you like Mr.
Good
Pierce to
job.
give you a better description?
No, I'm good.
No, okay.
No. Thank you, you can have a seat.
Okay.
Is there anyone here that'd like to speak in favor? You got a rental right here.
Tesla's head in there.
My name is Don Clever, I live across the street from Mr. Pierce. I've been there 60 years. Before you owned the property, you had all kinds of problems, absentee landlord problems. You bought the property, you straightened all the tenants out, got the place clean, keeps it clean. And he's been a great landlord, respected the poor family next to him. He's a great guy too. The whole place has changed, the hat track's gone, it's peaceful, it's quiet, he did a great job there. I was there all the time. I see him, what absentee landlords gives you a cell phone and you call him to call. He's a great landlord.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
I'm very in favor.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Is there anyone else in favor? Second? Third call? All opposed, here opposed, nothing? Nothing for the deep dive. Anyone opposed or undecided? You step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brent Wainwright. I'm the trustee of the 10 Copeland Street Realty Trust. And we're raising some concerns in terms of the size and the scope of the project.
Sorry, 10 Copeland?
10 Copeland Street Realty Trust. As it was explained, that right of way separates our 2 properties there. And we're just, we're concerned with what the use of the property is going to be in regards to whether it was going to be limited to resident parking and or, now it sounds like it's a business venture.
Yeah.
On top of that, it looks like residential B or mandates that accessory buildings are 25% of the original footprint, which in this case right here, it looks like they're asking for 4 times that amount. Let's see, on top of that, setback requirements seem to be not quite met in some cases. And we're really concerned about the size and the scope of the project and what could become of this in terms of any kind of safety implications.
So you're across the street,
Correct.
right here?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Opposed or undecided? Second call?
I just have a question.
Yep.
John Ortfield,
Address?
this week.
This week?
I'm living at 8 Jackson Street in Taunton right now. Is that on the lot line, on the private way? It looks pretty close.
No, it's like 8 feet away from the 5, 6, almost 6 feet.
Yes, yeah, no, we're not on the lot line, so 3 feet from the rear, 3 feet from the side, and on the front, because of the shape of the private way, at one end of the building, it's 5.7, at the other end of the building, it's 8.8.
It's just like, so you're taking away parking from the tenants and you're gonna be renting it out to other people?
Well, we're going to have 3 open parking spaces for the tenants to use. Currently, there's only 1 tenant that has a car, and that's pretty much been the history of the building because it's very low income.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the area, that's what I'm saying, like, I don't really see many people plugging cars.
Ask the questions to me.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, when there's heavy traffic and I get off at the exit, and I say, oh, there's a ton of traffic, I get off at the Plaza exit. So when I get off at the Plaza exit, this is my cut through. I go down Center Street and I go down Granite Street. And I'm actually familiar with this property, only because there's usually someone hanging out in that front porch. And, you know, and honestly.
Do you wait them every day?
No, I'm just saying, like, you know, I drive down that street and it's almost like, you know, it's like, I almost feel like that, whoever lives there hangs out in the front porch, they're like the mayor of that neighborhood or whatever. I have no idea, okay, that's just how I feel, I have no idea, I haven't talked to whatever, but the main point is that, like I said, it's a confusing thing. I don't like to see anyone building on the lot line, and I just want to make sure that you leave a reasonable setback and make sure that there isn't a right of way that somebody has. But it's actually a confusing project, you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
It's just good they make it a garage. You can do anything in a garage. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Opposed or undecided? Third call? Call it part of hearing closed. I just want to know, why do you need a 30-foot wide place to park a car? Pretty big.
Yeah, well, I think the idea is that.
I mean, like 23, 24 feet, more than that.
Yeah, I think the idea is that the people that could be renting it are living in the apartments in the area. So their car would be in there, and then some of their stuff, like you might keep some skis, some tires.
Is this a garage or is this a storage facility?
Well.
I mean, you can have 12 feet of storage in each car lot. Could be a lot of junk in there.
Mhm.
Well, I just don't know why you need a building that big and come up to the lot lines that close in the back.
Mhm.
Is there a way to shrink that?
Well, the idea was to put in a truck during a snowstorm.
It's gonna be outside during a storm.
An
It'll be outside.
F250
That's up to me.
complete with an attached plow,
Hmm.
capable of opening the door and driving out.
Mhm.
The idea was to have that facility, the land is large enough to construct a building that size. We could make it smaller, but
you know, you're hugging those lot lines like for a garage, coming right up 3 feet away.
well, it's up against a cliff.
I know exactly where it is, but that's not the idea. Someone like owns that place behind it. Someone owns that place over here. I don't know, I just think it's a big garage. I don't think you need a garage back there. You could have made it a little smaller. And you know what? You probably could have even got a car on each end of that too, whatever. If that building was small, you could have put it in the corner, no park. And you could have got a couple, I wouldn't even build a garage, I put 12 spaces in there somehow. rent them out, if you're gonna rent them, but that's just me. That's just my question, if you could. I just think it's too close to the lot lines, I think we could fix it and make it a little better than it is.
Yeah, I think
That's all
part
right.
of.
I don't like
part
garages
of-
anyway, like I said, that's.
Part of the
that's just
problem
me.
with the open parking
Yeah.
they're having right now is that other people don't belong in Mr.
Well,
Pierce's
they can
yard
put a
parking
gate
spaces.
there, plug a ticket in, and hit a button, and it opens up on it, so. you know what I mean? That's a simple thing. Pirate the pocket. Those are my 2 cents, I just think 30 feet's still a lot.
I like garages.
I
Because it gets the cars off the street. There is a security mechanism that, you know, not everybody's gonna be able to park in the garage if the garage has security. Maybe it's too big, but I like the concept, actually.
Oh, the concept's nice,
Yeah, I do-
yeah,
I
I just
really
think it's a little
do.
big, they could cut that back to 26 feet, come back out 4 feet, maybe 2 feet the other end. I mean, I don't know how wide it is, 10 feet, 10 feet. And 64 feet, you got 14 feet.
I mean, I didn't understand
You know?
like people dumping stuff, even though the
Yeah.
city that takes every kind of garbage there is, just put it
Oh,
on the curb.
13
Why
feet.
put it this poor fellow's property, I don't get that.
I mean, yeah,
They do, I know.
but space is usually like 5 by 9 you cut, and 9 gives you plenty of room to open your doors and everything, so, you know, 10 or 11, that's more than enough, and we're up to 13 feet, you're at 12, 13 feet per car space, like 30. That's, you
Well-
can put your whole cellar in the back of that, and then park your car.
Well, why don't we ask the thing?
That's just me, that's just me though, that's just me, that's just me, I'm thinking it could be a little smaller, and even you could come off that lot line a couple feet, come off a couple feet here, and there's still plenty of room in that.
Is the concern what's going to happen in the garages or just the size of the building?
I think it's the size of the building with that lot. I think you come up 3 feet right from the pond, 3 feet in the back of the building, you know, people are gonna work on it 10 years from now and everything else. And you get this much room to squeeze behind it, so. You could've gave yourself more room in the back, more room inside, walk around your lot line, instead of the people, someone else gonna buy this house, they don't wanna look at the garage. 2 feet from their house, you know. It's like to be 16 feet from their house, 8 and 8, but I get it, it's parking garage. Just my 2 cents, my 2 cents.
Well,
It could be,
Yeah, the garage is,
let's get some other people's.
Are there walls in between the bays?
well, that's
That's another question.
probably, but we're not positive yet. Because that's going to
'Cause you-
change some building code issues if
Yeah.
we do have those.
Right, but the other thing is you mentioned people leaving stuff like skis and stuff in there, and if you didn't have a wall in between, I'm sure they'd be going skiing
Right, well,
somewhere
yeah,
else.
yeah.
Well, I think anyone that rents, you know, we get cameras in there, you gotta know what you want.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have so much high
Yeah.
tech
I mean,
security.
16 feet. You know, you got nice height to walk in there, a nice big garage. You got hang bikes in there and everything, you got plenty of room.
Thank you.
Okay.
My thoughts are, it's a little bit big dimensionally for the setbacks, and I'm a little concerned with what the use is gonna be in the future. You indicate in your proposal that no business or employment will take place in these garages.
Correct.
I would like to see that put into any allowance that if we decide to go that direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which it is a business though.
Other than
Other than rental.
There will be a detailing company happening in there, no business will be happening. It could be commercial
I get it, it's a
vehicles.
commercial
but-
garage, I get it.
Right.
Comments?
No, I have no comments.
What's the view of the board? Have it back a couple of feet?
Yeah, have you come back.
I got a little small.
Huh?
Have you come back with the 2 plans.
A little small?
Yeah.
Well, off the line.
December 3rd?
Right? That's a great.
No, nothing on December 3rd?
Nothing yet.
Not yet. Make it a little small so people can get around that building. December 3rd. no.
Mr. Chairman, matter Z19-78, Robert and Cecilia Pierce for a special permit variance to construct a 5-car garage on lot 10 on the country level 391 Grand Street. Make a motion to continue the hearing to December 3rd.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Chairman, make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?